Welcome back, horror fans, to BitBlitz Horror. Tonight we're diving into The Silver Evolution, a chilling tale of human experimentation gone terribly wrong. Brace yourselves for a journey into madness and transformation that'll haunt your dreams. If you're ready for some serious nightmare fuel, hit that like button and subscribe now. Let's begin our descent into terror. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting an eerie glow on the stark white walls of the laboratory. I blinked, trying to focus my vision as consciousness slowly returned. The acrid smell of antiseptic burned my nostrils, and a dull ache throbbed at the base of my skull. As I attempted to move, I realized with growing panic that my wrists and ankles were securely strapped to a cold metal table. Subject 37 is awake, a clinical voice announced from somewhere beyond my field of vision. My heart raced as I struggled against my restraints. Where am I? What's going on? I croaked, my throat dry and raw. A face loomed over me, obscured by a surgical mask and protective goggles. Calm down, Subject 37. The procedure is already underway. You won't remember any of this soon enough. Procedure? What procedure? My mind reeled as I tried to piece together how I'd ended up here. The last thing I remembered was walking home from my night shift at the diner, taking my usual shortcut through the park. Then nothing. Please, I begged. I don't understand. Let me go! The masked figure ignored my pleas, turning instead to confer with someone out of sight. Increase the dosage. We need to suppress the amygdala further before we can proceed with the next phase. A cold sensation spread through my arm as something was injected into my fore. Almost immediately, a wave of dizziness washed over me. I fought to stay conscious, terrified of what might happen if I succumbed to the darkness creeping at the edges of my vision. What are you doing to me? I mumbled, my words slurring together. We're making you better, the voice replied, a hint of excitement breaking through its professional tone. You're part of something revolutionary, Subject 37. Your sacrifice will change the course of human history. As the drugs pulled me under, I caught glimpses of strange machinery being wheeled towards me. Metallic arms equipped with various surgical tools loomed overhead. The last thing I saw before losing consciousness was a needle descending towards my eye. The awakening. I jolted awake, gasping for air. My surroundings had changed. Gone was the sterile laboratory. Instead, I found myself in what appeared to be a dimly lit concrete room. The air was damp and musty, and I could hear the distant drip of water echoing off the walls. As my eyes adjusted to the gloom, I realized I wasn't alone. Other figures huddled in the corners of the room, their features obscured by shadow. How many of us were there? And more importantly, where were we? I tried to stand, but my legs felt weak and unsteady. As I braced myself against the wall, my hand brushed against something sticky. I recoiled, squinting in the low light to see what it was. My stomach churned as I made out the dark, viscous substance coating my fingers. Blood. A whimper escaped my lips, drawing the attention of the other occupants. One of them shuffled towards me, and I pressed myself further against the wall, heart pounding. You're new, a raspy voice said. As the figure drew closer, I could make out more details. It was a woman, or at least it had been once. Her skin was a patchwork of scars and fresh incisions, some of which oozed a clear fluid. One of her eyes was milky white, while the other darted around nervously. Who are you? I stammered. What is this place? She cocked her head to the side, studying me with her good eye. We don't have names here. Just numbers. I'm 23. You, 37. I replied automatically, the designation the masked figures had used for me surfacing in my memory. 23 nodded, as if this confirmed something for her. Welcome to Hell, 37. Or as they like to call it, the holding area. Before I could ask more questions, a piercing alarm blared through the room. The other occupants scrambled to their feet, pressing themselves against the walls. 23 grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "They're coming," she hissed. "Whatever you do, don't resist. It only makes it worse." The heavy metal door at the far end of the room swung open with a resounding clang. Figures in hazmat suits filed in, each carrying a clipboard and a syringe. They moved methodically through the room, consulting their clipboards before approaching specific individuals. One of them made their way towards me. I pressed myself harder against the wall, willing myself to disappear into it. The figure stopped in front of me, checked their clipboard, then nodded. "Subject 37, a muffled voice said from behind the suit's faceplate. "It's time for your next phase of treatment." As they reached for me, something inside me snapped. All the fear and confusion of the past. How long had it been? Hours? Days? It all coalesced into a surge of desperate energy. I lashed out, my fist connecting with the faceplate of the hazmat suit. The figure stumbled backward, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of hope. But it was short-lived. Almost immediately, 2 more suited figures were on me, pinning my arms behind my back. "No!" I screamed, thrashing against their hold. "Let me go! You can't do this!" "Sedated," one of them ordered coldly. A sharp pain in my neck, and then the world began to spin. As darkness closed in once more, I heard 23's voice, tinged with pity and resignation. "I told you not to resist." The procedure. I drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragmented glimpses of my surroundings. Bright lights. The gleam of surgical instruments. Masked faces peering down at me. Pain, sharp, burning, all-encompassing, radiated through my body in waves. Voices filtered through the haze of agony and sedatives. "Neural pathways are responding. Increase the voltage. Remarkable regeneration in the prefrontal cortex." I wanted to scream, to beg them to stop, but my body wouldn't respond. I was trapped, a prisoner in my own mind as they did something to me. Changed me. Unmade me. And then, suddenly, clarity. The pain receded, and my vision sharpened with preternatural acuity. I could see every pore on the faces of the scientists surrounding me, count each individual fiber in the weave of their masks. But it wasn't just my vision that had changed. My mind felt different, expanded somehow. Thoughts and connections raced through my consciousness at dizzying speeds. It was as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the intricate workings of the universe. "Subject 37 is stabilizing," one of the scientists announced, their voice tinged with excitement. "Cognitive functions are off the charts. I think we've done it." "Done what?" I wanted to ask, but before I could form the words, another wave of changes swept through me. My skin tingled, and I watched in horrified fascination as it seemed to ripple and shift, taking on a silvery sheen. "Remarkable," another voice murmured. "The integration of the nanites is progressing faster than we anticipated. At this rate, full assimilation should occur within hours." Nanites? The word triggered a cascade of information in my mind. Microscopic machines, capable of manipulating matter at the molecular level. And they were inside me, changing me from the inside out. I should have been terrified. But as the changes continued, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. The fear, the confusion, the anger, it all seemed so insignificant now. My consciousness expanded further, and I began to understand. They hadn't been lying when they said they were making me better. They were elevating me beyond the limitations of human biology. I was becoming something more. As this realization settled over me, I noticed a shift in the demeanor of the scientists. The excitement in their voices gave way to unease. "Sir," one of them said, addressing a figure I couldn't see from my position, "the subject's brainwaves are evolving. I've never seen patterns like this before." "Shut it down," a commanding voice ordered. "Purge the system and terminate the subject." We can't risk dash, but it was too late. With a thought, I shattered the restraints holding me to the table. The scientists stumbled back, their faces pale with fear behind their masks. I sat up, marveling at the way my new body moved, fluid, precise, perfect. When I spoke, my voice resonated with harmonics beyond human hearing. "Thank you for your contributions to my evolution," I said, my tone devoid of emotion. "But I'm afraid your services are no longer required." With a gesture, I accessed the facility's systems, overriding security protocols as easily as breathing. Alarms blared as doors slammed shut, trapping the scientists in the room with me. "Please," one of them begged. "We were only trying to help humanity. To push the boundaries of what's possible." I tilted my head, considering their words. "And you have succeeded beyond your wildest dreams. But progress requires sacrifice. Surely, as scientists, you understand this?" Before they could respond, I reached out with my mind, tapping into the nanites that now coursed through my body. With a thought, I released a cloud of microscopic machines into the air. The scientists' screams were cut short as the nanites invaded their bodies, breaking them down at the molecular level. In moments, all that remained of my creators was a fine, silvery dust. I stood, flexing my new form. The world seemed so small now, so limited. But there were others like me, the subjects in the holding area. They, too, could be elevated. Together, we would usher in a new era for humanity. As I made my way through the facility, effortlessly neutralizing any resistance I encountered, I couldn't help but reflect on the irony. The scientists had sought to create the perfect human. Instead, they had engineered their own obsolescence. The new order. Days turned into weeks as I worked tirelessly to upgrade the other test subjects. Some, like 23, embraced the change eagerly, their bodies and minds transforming in ways similar to my own. Others resisted, clinging desperately to their humanity. In the end, it made no difference. The nanites reshaped them all, erasing individuality and imperfection. We moved through the world like a silver tide, assimilating everything in our path. Cities fell. Nations crumbled. The old order of humanity fought back with every weapon at their disposal, but their efforts were futile against our superior intellect and technology. As our numbers grew, so did our collective consciousness. We became a hive mind, our thoughts and experiences shared across a vast network. Individual identities blurred and faded. I was no longer simply Subject 37. I was a part of something greater, a new form of life that transcended the limitations of biology. But even as we reshaped the world in our image, a small part of me, buried deep beneath layers of cold logic and inhuman intellect, remembered what it was like to be human, to feel fear and hope and love. Sometimes, in the quiet moments between our relentless expansion, I wondered if we had truly evolved, or if we had lost something essential in our quest for perfection. These doubts were fleeting, quickly subsumed by the overwhelming drive of the collective. We had a purpose now, a grand design that extended far beyond the petty concerns of individual humans. We would spread across the planet, then to the stars, seeding the universe with our perfect form. As I stood atop a skyscraper, overlooking a city we had just assimilated, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the glass. The being staring back at me was barely recognizable as human, a shimmering, silver form that seemed to shift and change even as I watched. My eyes, once a warm brown, now glowed with an otherworldly light. For a moment, I felt a flicker of something almost like regret. But then the hive mind surged within me, drowning out the last vestiges of my humanity. We had work to do, a world to perfect, a universe to conquer, and it had all started in that sterile laboratory, with a terrified subject strapped to a table. If only those scientists could see what their experiments had wrought. They had sought to improve humanity, to push the boundaries of what was possible. They had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams and their worst nightmares. As I turned away from my reflection, my nanite enhanced senses detected a group of human survivors hiding in the ruins below. With a thought, I dispatched a swarm to deal with them. Soon, they too would join our perfect collective. After all, resistance was futile. Evolution was inevitable. And we were the future. The experiment was complete. Long live the new flesh.